everybody, so this is the Lords of the Sith, and we're back to talk a little bit more about what the happened to the Rise of Skywalker and to the sequel trilogy. What happened? How did it become that way? Was there a plan? Why were there so many changes? So check it out. What do you think was gonna happen to Kylo, right? To Ben? Because the issue is that there is no music for his death. It's very abrupt, and it looks like it was something that was added at the last minute. So
I don't know. I have oh my goodness, I really don't know. Would they? I mean, I just don't know. I don't think they had a fully mapped out story even for him. I mean, I think what JJ wanted was like he said to Adam Driver. He said, "Imagine the opposite of Vader," and Adam, of course, was intrigued by that, and he signed on. And you know, I think Adam has said that they were building towards it throughout the 3 movies, but I don't know. I personally think he was told, you know, different things by different people, and then they changed it. And in fact, he even said in a recent interview that things change all the time in these blockbuster movies. So I'm wondering if he was told something, and then at the very end they changed it.
yeah.
So I mean that there is an amazing concept art of Ben Solo, Kylo Ren being redeemed in the art book. He has short hair and a beard, but does that mean he was supposed to live?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Because the art can have a lot of stuff that doesn't really go in. But I think that what I find is that we had that music farewell and farewell. I don't think it's about death, so there is no music for his death. I'm almost thinking, when I read Chris Terrio, I believe in because the early leaks talked about him falling down the pit, never to be seen again, and I thought it was crazy. But now when I read Chris Terrio's interview, Ryan talking about him as the janitor, I can kind of believe it, but it would have been so horrible. What gets me with this ending is that, one, the audience was shocked. There was that interview and they had their reactions, and everybody was like, from "this sucks" to "what the heck is this?" Anthony Daniels was like, "Oh," and also the idea that
Daisy Ridley said she was going to cry. She
wanted to scurry to her car to cry, and then she had to watch a lot of Friends to wind down. So if she had known this ending, why would she be surprised? Oh, the other day I had an insight. It just came to my mind, but I don't think it's true. But I had this very weird insight. I said this was a fake ending. They were.
Oh yeah, Kelly said that, didn't she? Kelly said that.
Well, what I thought, what came to my mind was that they had this filmed as a fake ending to kind of for the leakers, you know, so that the real ending wouldn't leak. So I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it came to my mind. It's kind of like insight. And then in the end, they made this the ending. I don't know. Maybe there was an ending, or I don't know.
Do you know what? Jedi Praxis actually put something else on Reddit the other day, which was included with his review. And because he was so right, you know, he about the Rise of Skywalker, he definitely knows someone inside the production. So yeah, I would not be surprised if this was true. But basically, he said the original ending was Rey with Finn and Poe and Janna, I think it was, and that's when Finn confesses that he has he's force sensitive, and Rey agrees to train him, and that they even hold hands. So I mean,
think it makes sense, because he keeps trying to tell something and then never does, which is very strange, right?
Yeah. So I would not be surprised if it was always meant for Kylo to die, regardless if he was thrown down the pit never to be seen again, or kissing Rey and saving her. The more I think about it, the more I think they were going to kill him and end it with Finn Rey. But obviously they changed it at the last minute to Rey being alone, which, you know, it's just as bad. I mean, you either have the strong heroine on her own, or you have it as a cautionary tale with her with the nice guy at the end, you know. So it's each of them is just, it's just horrible for the heroine, you know.
But maybe that one was with them more as friends, you know, with her family, you know, quote unquote. I don't know, but there's something that makes me wonder though, is that when at Celebration we had the music, it seemed the Rise of Skywalker. I don't think they gave that title thinking that it was gonna be about Rey, and I find that now the Rise of Skywalker is like the upgrade of Skywalker, because we got the nicer one. But I think it was about Kylo, and I think he was meant to live in the beginning. But I because if he was gonna die, you need a different story. You need him to make a big sacrifice. Like, I don't know, be known as a hero. It would be a little repeat of Luke, but that's how you kill an important character, right? He died and then, you know, this great sacrifice and became an inspiration. You know, imagine if I were going to kill Kylo Ren, I would make him do something really huge and maybe become this huge hero and save the galaxy, you know, something that's meaningful.
Defeat Palpatine.
Yes, and maybe something that people know. So, you know, at the end of the day, he was worthwhile. He was valuable, you know, even though he died, he did something great. So that's when you do a death of a character like that. But I don't see the path of that in his plot. But then they have no clue what they're doing, right? So I don't know. But something else that I noticed was, as the marketing for the movie, we had a lot of Reylo, right? Rey and Kylo, the commercials with Reylo, them coming together. I don't know if they wanted to do that just because they have a kiss. I don't know. But I think that lately, very close to the release, they started doing more about the trio. So I'm wondering if there was a change there. And I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, even at Celebration, you know, you guys were there, and you've said it was Reylo-tastic, and
yes,
your whole you know, panel was, you know, about the history of Reylo, and that got accepted. So it's
it was about romance in Star Wars as well.
I know, but
I think it's okay. They would have accepted it, but yeah. So I think I just don't understand, you know, like the Rise of Skywalker, when they showed it was with Kylo's theme finally like getting resolved, you know. I don't really, instead of like it being dissonant, it gets like resolved, it goes higher. So I think it was about his redemption. That's what it seemed. And you know, the lack of a proper death for him, the lack of a proper, I think at the beginning he was maybe meant to live, but maybe it's just that Chris Terrio can't write anything. It was just a mess from the beginning. But there was something more of the dyad, of the Oracle, and it was really cool. I thought it was cool, and I don't understand why it was cut.
There was even an interview like a few hours ago with JJ's editor. She said that Adam Driver had way more dialogue, but that was cut. You know, he didn't have any dialogue in the final scene, and even Adam said that, you know, he was ringing JJ up and worried about his last lines. Mm-hmm. What last line? His last line was "Dad," and he didn't have a single word as Ben Solo apart from "ow." Was he worried about how that? Was he worried about that? Was he worried about not translating the pain well from his fall? I don't think so.
But what I think is maybe the lines were pretty shitty. He's such a great actor, you know, like maybe that was that. But on the other hand, like there was a dialogue between him and Rey, right? We see her mouth moving that they cut when after they kiss, and maybe it was really cheesy and they had to cut. But maybe what I wonder is why. I guess we know that there was no plan. We know that they could have done anything they wanted. We know that the main screenwriter had complete disregard for
the previous movies
and for the previous movies as well. And so it's this, and then that's how we got the result. But I don't understand why this was so chopped and so edited and so much changed in post-production.
I mean, I guess we'll never know. With that Pablo Hidalgo quote with Rey taking the name, she could have easily taken it with Kylo, being alive. We don't know. Maybe that was an idea that they had for the story very early on, because I think it was made in 2014. But they decided not to go for it. But then they decided to bring it back for Rise of Skywalker.
Maybe.
I don't think we'll ever know. Not unless someone whistle blows in the future.
I think they will. But, you know, with that quote from Pablo, what I don't like about it is that he's almost saying as if Skywalker was some kind of royal line. When no, Luke was an everyman as well, right? Okay, he had afterwards, and we learn about Anakin, but it's still not like some kind of... You know, it's Skywalker, and it's important because it was a family that we cared about, right? It's not that there is some, and it's very egocentric to have this Skywalker and means the Force and the Jedi, and also something that I don't like that Chris said is like, she has the Skywalker line, the ancestry of the Jedi. Well, no.
What? Skywalkers didn't create the Jedi?
No, yeah, and the Jedi were the assholes who didn't let little Anakin Skywalker visit his mom, right? So, and he's conflicting Skywalker with the Jedi. So he said he watched the prequels to prepare for this movie, but I don't think he did. And the idea, and you know, it's never about the Force, it's about the Jedi. So it's just so everything in the movie, it's nothing about the Force. Like even the scene with Luke lifting his X-wing, you know, it would have been much nicer if it had Rey doing it, and maybe he had some words about the Force, some inspiring words that made her do it, you know, instead of being something that looks like a superhero movie. Like the movie has, like I said, Wonder Woman. When she does that,
Wonder Woman.
She has the superhero landing in some other part. You have that scene that's very similar to Endgame when the ships appear, but in Endgame it was something that it made sense. It was like the characters that we knew, right? So it was character, it was still character based. But here, anyways, so I wonder, like, I think there is a crisis on writing. I don't think there is a crisis on writing. I think there are good writers, but Hollywood is such like a small it's about privilege and about appointing people who know each other. I think they're more interested in that than in telling good stories.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mean, they chose and this is what I personally think. Okay, so they chose JJ for Force Awakens because he's good at rebooting Star Wars. He's good at rebooting stories. Like, personally, I thought he did a wonderful job with the 2009 Star Trek.
Yeah,
I do.
No,
I mean,
he did not.
Well, fair enough, but you can't deny it was critically acclaimed and it did really well at the box office. It was in so many movie critics' best films of 2009.
The issue of that movie, I'm just gonna say as someone who watched the original series a lot, is that it's a very good sci-fi movie. It's very good. It's sleek. It's beautiful, but it doesn't have the spirit of the series, the heart of it. Star Trek is basically philosophical debate. What if? So you go, you know, like it's about philosophical debates. That's what it is about, which we have nothing of it in that damn movie. So
yeah, but you can't deny that it was critically acclaimed and a huge box office hit. So they choose JJ for that. And then, of course, with Rian Johnson, he's has done all these indie films which are critically acclaimed. They want to do something new and special with Star Wars. They want to go in a new direction, so they choose him, right? And then with Colin Trevorrow, even though his writing has not been that critically acclaimed, he's had huge box office hits with the Jurassic World films. So they presumably they want to end on a big, smashing bang with epic fights and epic imagery and get a huge box office number. So I'm wondering whether they cared more about box office numbers than an actual story, which is why they hired these directors. And then when it actually came to writing them, that's when they found out that things went wrong, and therefore why they might not have had a plan in the first place.
They didn't have a plan. I think it would have been okay to change their actors, but they should have had one main screenwriter throughout, right? One storyteller. It's about a story, you know, like with all the flaws of the prequels, with all its problems, it has a story.
Yeah, I mean, even with Lord of the Rings, they had they did have script changes every day and some reshoots, but it was the same writer and directors. It was Peter Jackson with his wife and with Philippa Boyens. They were passionate about it and they knew what they wanted and they had the creative freedom to do so. You know, it's same with Harry Potter. Even though the Harry Potter movies are really flawed, they're written by I think 6 of them or 7 of them were written by Stephen Close. Another Order of the Phoenix was written by a different guy, but it was still with the same studio, and it was still with J.K. Rowling looking over the script and making sure everything was okay.
Yeah, in these examples you're giving, you had good source material, but then, well, I was going to say, but then The Hobbit was horrible. But The Hobbit, it didn't have source material, right? It was something that
the studio wanted, yeah.
Yeah, they just wanted, instead of wanting to do a very good Hobbit adaptation, they wanted to do a second Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit
Which doesn't work, no.
Lord of the Rings, it doesn't fit, you know, like, and it's such a wonderful book. It's a pity.
Well, all I'll say about The Hobbit is at least we got Lee Pace as Thranduil, because damn, I'll watch the Hobbit movies just for him. Anyway,
yeah,
moving on.
But that's what was missing. So, but when we come to the Rise of Skywalker, they had. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are people who can write better scripts, right? So, but I guess they don't have the connections. They don't have this. I think it's more important for Hollywood right now to keep this little club than to be looking out for people who are talented, and I think that's the problem, because we need. I think what's gonna happen? You know what's gonna happen? I think people are gonna adapt books, because I guess they just can't write stories, and look for good stories. But in this way, like, I agree with you that they were just looking for box office. They weren't caring about story or plot or character, and this is not something that you do with Star Wars, because Star Wars is something that for a lot of people is special, and that's the reason we remember it like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and people are gonna remember. I don't know if people are still gonna watch the original and the prequel after the sequel trilogy, because I think it really
ruins them both.
It ruins them. Although we do have one awesome character, which is Kylo and Ben. I think people might remember him. But then when you have that death that it's not even mourned, it doesn't mean anything. You know, it kind of, you undo everything. Oh, and something else that I wanted to do. What about the rise of Kylo Ren? That's why I was thinking that maybe in the beginning they wanted to have him live, and that's why they were kind of preparing the public for that. But I guess no. I guess it's just to make it tragic. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. But I know one thing, and that is they should have had Kylo's backstory in the films.
Oh yes. Imagine, like, but we did have a little in The Last Jedi, which I think it was helpful, but it was slightly helpful, but it didn't come with context. You know, you had Luke, a beloved character of millions. He was the only one in the whole galaxy who believed Darth Vader could be redeemed. And then all of a sudden, you get some half-baked flashback saying that he saw a vision of Kylo destroying everything, which the audience doesn't even see. They don't even see this vision. And he tries to kill his own nephew. It's so jarring, and that's why it didn't work. So they really, really needed to take a different approach to that. Maybe if they'd shown, like, the scenes with Snoke in Rise of Kylo Ren, if they'd showed that in the movies, then I guess people would have understood more. I think it could have been a beautiful movie if they focused on redemption and focused on making the redemption believable. We could have had, like, him with Rey coming to see this. Maybe she could have had visions about it.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
And then you start unraveling this past, and then you have this character, and we also had very little. Oh, something else in the leaked scene when he's in the Oracle. He's in Mustafar, and we see Darth Vader's castle in the background. Why wasn't that at the movie, right? Because
that whole beginning scene, I'm not surprised that the Oracle was cut, because wow. the beginning scene in The Rise of Skywalker with Kylo Ren killing those cultists, that has got to be one of the most rushed openings I've ever seen.
It's horrible.
It's choppy.
But you know, like showing Darth Vader's castle is fan service, but that's good fan service. And you know, considering if we're not gonna have like an Anakin Force Ghost, at least have his reckoning with Darth Vader, and we get very little of that, right? We have him looking at the Darth Vader's mask. It seems that it's meaningful, but then Rey breaks it and whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I didn't care about that thing anyway.
He's more interested that she's in his quarters, so I can get.
I bet. I bet.
But still, like, it should have been more meaningful, right? So
yeah, like with the Vader castle, they could have easily recycled Trevorrow's script about Kylo having a vision of him and fighting him.
It would have been so cool. That's good fan service. That's good fan service, guys. And then, okay, so imagine if we had him fighting Vader, but then we get Force Ghost Anakin.
Or Force Ghost Luke.
No,
trolling him.
Maybe even Force Ghost Anakin, you know, saying, no, this is not me. And then even Force Ghost Luke too. And then maybe he could be conflicted and still not. I mean, there are some things, if they wanted to do this movie about Kylo's redemption, which would have been super cool, they could have done something wonderful. But what, I don't even know what it was about. It was about Rey being powerful.
It was about Rey being Superwoman and and choosing her own family, which at the expense of the man she loved. Yeah,
but you see, even then there was a huge failure of that. Okay.
Oh, it's absolutely. It's a huge failure.
For script, again, you have a character who has a problem, and then they go to. So if the way they did it is like in the beginning, her problem is that she cannot connect with the ancestors, right? I have that little beginning, which, okay, she doesn't do anything for that. It doesn't cause her any problem. And then at the end, she magically solves it. That's not a freaking plot. Okay, that's not a plot. We're not even trying to get to. I know, I understand that in terms of symbolism, if you do like a higher analysis, you find things lacking. But if you just strip it down, basic plot, you know, it doesn't really work. And Finn has no plot in this movie. I mean, no plot.
Apart from screaming, Rey! Rey!
Well, that's not a plot.
That's
right?
all he does. That's all he does.
If we had a resolution to that, if maybe when she pushes him away, she felt bad about it, you know, we don't have anything. Paul does not have a plot whatsoever, and he's the second person with the most screen time. He has no plot whatsoever. You know, he has no conflict, nothing. So, and then that when we're talking about this movie, and so not only it fails Star Wars values, it just fails to have a basic plot, but
fails the characters.
But you know, like, can't they hire? I mean, did Chris Terrio go to school to learn writing? I mean, I don't understand. Like, these are things that very basic, right? Writing 101, and.
I think this is why the movie. I'm going to quote my favorite critic, Mark Kermode, on this. I can't remember which movie. I think he said these lines when talking about. It was either Order of the Phoenix or Deathly Hallows Part 1. But he said about a certain Harry Potter movie. You've been going and going and going and going, but you haven't actually got anywhere at the end. And then he also reviewed Star Trek Into Darkness, again, another JJ movie. And he said the movie is going so fast that you can't even explain what's going. You can't even explain what's going on. And then when you finish the movie and you think about it, you go, hang on, the Enterprise is stranded because of what? This guy is doing this because of what? Kirk is doing this because of what? And yeah, it's the same thing here. The movie is going so fast that you can't stop and think, hang on, why do they need this particular MacGuffin? Why does Kylo want to do this? Why does Rey want to do that? Because it's going so fast that it forbids you from asking these questions. So maybe that's why it was such a fast movie. Chris Terrio was aware of it and made it that way.
Yeah, but the thing is that you get this choose your own adventure, like with The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens was good because each person came out of it thinking they saw a different movie, right? Some people were, oh, it was so emotional to see Rey's meeting with her father at the end, or like, but it's okay if you say, oh, everybody liked it, but that's not okay. It causes division in the fandom, especially when they did not do anything to fix wrong impressions, right? They could have come out and said, no, she's not related to Luke, but they thought that conversation was good. That conversation was not good. That's what caused a little bit of the fan division, because people were having such different theories about it.
Yeah, it caused. I'm gonna be honest. It caused. Reylos to be chucked out of forums because people were so convinced that she was either a Skywalker or a Solo that were like, you have no place here with your disgusting romance theories. Get out.
Yes. Yeah, so and I agree, and there is an element of misogyny, not liking something that's feminine, not liking women, but there is also an element that they had different expectations raised. They saw the trailer, they saw that, or even with the people who think, no, her love interest is Finn. I mean, why are you disregarding her love interest for the villain? You racist. But the marketing for the movie did that, and even the beginning of the movie did that. Why did they have this character just liking her and not being liked back? And also I find lots of guys who find that they're like the quote-unquote nice guy but think that women owe them something. They really identified with Finn, and that's another reason that they were angry at. They felt that it was, even I think Monty said once that he said, guys, that they think it's with them. If somebody says Rey's not gonna get a Finn, it's like rejecting them. But because you have this plot, and also but the mistake is not really in the person who's identifying with Finn. It's normal to identify. The mistake is in the writing that raises these expectations not to fulfill them. That's the problem. So.
And again, the marketing, because the marketing showed Finn as the hero. And I remember when I first watched those trailers for the Force Awakens, I fully believed that Finn was going to be the hero. Kylo was going to be his nemesis, and Rey would be the love interest that he'd have to rescue from Kylo Ren, because the only scene we saw with Rey and Kylo was the one where he puts his lightsaber over her shoulder and asks her where BB-8 is in Takodana. That's if you go back and look at those trailers, it's the only scene. They kept that under wraps, but it gave such false expectations that sadly lingered with the whole saga, the whole trilogy, and I think heavily influenced The Rise of Skywalker, because they had no structure, no plot, and they thought with the last one, oh, we need to please everybody, so let's just throw everything in, a little bit of everything that each fandom wants. And that, the ironic thing is, that hasn't worked. Rise of Skywalker has taken 4 weeks to reach the $1 billion mark, which Force Awakens got in 12 days and TLJ got in 19 days. And not only that, but it was reported today on Forbes that a lot of cinemas are pulling Rise of Skywalker out of the theatres, and people aren't going back for a repeat viewing. So no, it's not worked.
I posted a quiz on Twitter. I had 3,000 answers, okay, so it is,
wow.
But it was a little skewed because it's more our viewers and women, but it got a little bit out, and people were, I said, the question was, did you watch it fewer times than planned? And most people said yes.
Yeah.
Then some people said they did not watch it. Some people got refunds, and so it definitely happened. And I know that the people who were angry about the sequel trilogy, that hated The Last Jedi, many of them are not happy either. And so, but the thing is that, and what I find is unfair is that they blame us, for false expectations, right? Even as a Raylo, wow, why are you about Raylo? Well, 'cause you put the tropes there, you know, when the movie makers need to know what they're doing, need to know what kind of expectations they are raising, and need to fulfill them. That's what writing is about, managing expectations. And the fact that they don't know it, I think it's scary, you know, like, and they're getting these $1 million franchises. It's bad, and they need to look at the story, look at the heart. But something else that I was thinking is that I was thinking, oh my God, if they butcher this, Star Wars is not going to make money 10 years from now, 15 years from now. They're not going to have a new saga. But I was thinking, but then I realized, for example, this is not like a family taking care of it. This is like executives, like Bob Iger. He probably wants to make as much money as he can while he's still here, you know? And he doesn't give a damn what's going to happen 10 years from now. And that's just horrible.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think he's just trying to turn Star Wars into the next Marvel. But the difference with Marvel is it's had good writers, you know, who care about the source material, and Chris Terrio doesn't care about the source.
I think he has a very skilled vision of that. But with Marvel, we have characters, right? It's about character. Iron Man. Why do people love Iron Man? Because it's an interesting character, right? And it is in a way a redemption, because he was like an arms dealer, right? And
yeah, he was Loki. People love Loki because he's funny and witty.
But with Iron Man, it was somebody that was completely selfish, and then that's the kind of death that works. He dies in a selfless act that everybody knows and everybody recognizes, so it's okay. With Loki, yeah, he had like this with his brother, and it's about character. The movies that are successful are about characters. Even Guardians of the Galaxy with what's his name?
Chris Pratt.
Guy. Yeah, I was not the actor. I wanted to remember the character name.
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. It's about his mother, right? So you have that little thing. So you have characters, you have stories. So it is the explosions and everything are there, but the characters are there in the movies that are successful, right? Because they also have so many movies, and not all of them do well. But the characters, it was the family, and it was the story of the family. And Kathleen Kennedy had been saying that it was about the family. And why? I guess she thinks you can just replace the family. I don't understand.
No, you can't. And not in a way that's not just insulting to the whole family, but also insulting to the protagonist, you know, to the first female protagonist of a Star Wars movie. It's just so insulting, you know. Yeah. I mean, sure, she chooses her own name, but at what cost? I mean, it feels so hollow. And she's there on her own. She's on her own. Her soulmate is dead. And the people whose name she takes, she doesn't even have a good relationship with. She and Luke did not get on, you know, and she and Leia didn't really spend that much time together. So
Leia didn't really use that name. She didn't like it.
Exactly.
So it's a little problematic. We could have had something establishing earlier, right? Let's say some people say, no, she's taking this name for Ben, okay? We could have had a few scenes establishing that he's taking that name, maybe because Solo is not a real name, you know, and then you can establish it, and you can do it in a way that works. But basically, okay, so yeah, so it was a convoluted production. They changed a lot. What do you think? Just a quick guess. Do you think Ben was originally supposed to live in this movie or not?
I'm gonna be straight up honest. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, with the script that's come out about Trevorrow, and then you have those admittedly badly translated quotes from Filoni and Pablo, and also you have those horrible concept arts of Kylo Ren in front of a chained Chewbacca. Like, what is that about? You know?
Oh, I thought that could have been interesting if we had like some. If it became a moment of reconciliation between them, you know?
I would have liked that too, but I don't know, and I think I'm leaning towards him dying because they have no idea with what to do with such a complex character.
Okay, yeah. So I think it was mostly due to Kasdan writing The Force Awakens, right?
Yes,
so
I agree.
JJ didn't understand, and Kasdan said that there was something more between Rey and Kylo, even though it's not there. Anyways, but I think JJ also likes their connection. That I'm not gonna say that he doesn't like it. He seems very excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, with Trevorrow, he totally threw it out of the window. I mean, you even see it in some of the concept arts. You have Rey joking Kylo, and you also have Kylo standing over Rey. So I'm wondering if that had something to do with it. But JJ completely turned that around, and it was the one thing he included from The Last Jedi, and that was their Force bond and their relationship and the take my hand thing, and just their connection. Even though you can argue whether how well it was done, but it was like I said, it was the only thing from The Force Awakens that he chose and carried forward. Everything else was just like a big middle finger to it.
From The Last Jedi, right?
Yeah.
But it was the strongest point of The Last Jedi. So, yeah, now I'm thinking, was he supposed to survive? I think, yeah. I don't think he was going to be down the pit and never to be seen again. I think that ending has something missing. Some pieces are really missing, and it was changed at the last minute. But... as much, and I also think JJ, I don't think he would have just yeeted him down the pit like that, but then he just made him disappear, because his disappearance is weird, and some people noted that the scene where he disappears is weird, but maybe could it be because they put that kiss maybe at the last minute, because they also said they weren't sure if they're gonna put it or not. I mean, things need to things that you don't want or not sure if you put or not, things that need to have meaning, right? You can't just I don't know, it works, it doesn't.
Oh my god, what an absolute mess of a film.
So I know some people like it, and I'm really happy for people who liked it, and so who can still find some great meaning. But it was a very problematic production, and we have somebody, the main screenwriter, who very clearly does not understand Star Wars, doesn't seem to have watched the sequel trilogy, and it's very upsetting to see these things. And it's not happy to do this episode, but I guess we had to look at it.
No, and also it felt very, very much like a movie designed to please a certain section of people who did not like certain aspects of The Last Jedi, like for example Rose. Like, I do not buy that story that Chris Terrio told about Rose having a storyline with Leia, and they couldn't make it work with the CGI and stuff. I don't buy that for a second.
I don't. Bad because okay, so Rose, some people didn't like her. Okay, I'm not saying everybody liked, but you can fix the character without, like, people say, oh, the character, I didn't like her arc. You can fix it, people say, oh, that throwaway character, this shouldn't be there, she's useless, this kind of thing is not, but you're right that they wanted a certain kind of fan, because whose interview is that? I think it was JJ that was saying, we need to bring the fans back, we need to bring the fans back. What are we? What are we? Like, what about us? We're here. We're cheering for this trilogy. We were looking forward to things. We were buying things. And we were here all this time. And in marketing, you say that it's a lot more expensive to acquire a customer than to keep a customer. So they should. I understand, like. One thing that you can say for Rose, for example, is that for the dude Rose, she wasn't really for the male gaze, but you can make him.
But they could have used that. They could have made used that for his Finn's arc.
They can make her. They can pretty her up. She's pretty. Like, you can fix certain issues that people have without having to chop the character. I'm not even saying you have to do this, but if in the first thing, tell a good story, and also like to go to step on this trilogy without any clue of what they're gonna do. And even Finn, I think Finn in the Force Awakens, I think Finn was put there to be this red herring for people to think that he was a hero. I don't know who allowed this. Whoever said, yes, great idea. I mean, what are they thinking? But then, you know, like...
I know, even J.J. Abrams said to John Boyega, you are now the new star of Star Wars.
Oh my god.
And he knew perfectly well that Finn was a red herring and Rey was the true protagonist. Why say that? You don't say that.
Yeah, and people were really offended, you know, like, a lot of people... So I think they didn't know what to do with him, because in TLJ he had an arc a little bit. It could have been a little better, but he had an arc. But here, again... They could have done what people have been, since they wanted to do fun work, do this
Stormtrooper Rebellion,
or even that in Trevorrow's script was better to raise the people. Anyways, so
I agree. The one thing about the Trevorrow script that I like it is Finn and Rose's arc, where they go and get people to join them in the Battle of the First Order. Do that.
I know I didn't do that because they wanted to Poe and Finn because they're popular, you know. But then since there's also people who like Poe and like Finn and Rey, let's put them together also, you know. Like so, yeah. But it really sacrificed his arc. But I think it lacked, and it's such an interesting thing. Like this ex-stormtrooper, it's such an interesting arc that they didn't do anything with.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Even though Poe is an important supporting character, and it does make sense that he shares a few scenes with Rey because she is the protagonist after all. But there was nothing in the previous two films that set them up as a trio, and Chris Terrio's insistence that they are a trio and trying to be the new Han, Luke and Leia, does not work. In
his interview he said, so the thing that I was most excited was to look at the trio. I was like, really?
What trio?
Really? He watched TLJ and that's what he's excited about. I mean, really? You have like Han and Leia's son, you have this force bond between enemies, you have this this stuff, and you're interested in the trio. Okay.
Again, I think it's also a problem with the marketing of TFA because they did actually market them as a new trio.
Yes.
And yet Poe and Rey didn't share any scenes together in The Force Awakens. It's ridiculous. It's managing expectations, and wow, did they fail spectacularly? And do you know what the funny thing is?
Yeah.
The fact that there were fans crying out for Finn, Rey, and Poe to be a trio. That's fine, but it wasn't a lot. And well, I say it's not a lot, but it wasn't the thing that people found most interesting. And then they finally put all three of them together in a movie, and it doesn't feel organic because they haven't spent time together as a threesome in the previous movies. So and the ironic thing, the great thing, and the ironic thing is that was the thing that was panned mostly in critical reviews. People didn't enjoy it, and I'll tell you what was the best thing, praised unanimously throughout. Critic reviews and fan reviews and casual audience reviews, it was Rey and Kylo.
Well, of course. But, the thing with the trio, there is also an interview with Chris Terrio that he says, Rey, her challenge is to fit in with this new family. Okay, so let's go back to screenwriting 101. So basically, if your character has a goal, you have to have a conflict. So she should have had a conflict in getting along with them. And he had one thing right in his sleeve. What if they found out about her force bond, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was there. They just had to use it, because if he finds that an important part of her arc is this new family, which I agree it is, you need a conflict, because if you don't put stuff for a long time in a movie or in any story that doesn't have a conflict, if it doesn't have a conflict, it's not a story. So just them running around together, it's not a story. So I think that's the reason. I don't think it's so much that it wasn't organic, but the lack of conflict and the lack of arc. For example, Poe had no arc, and he was just there, and it was I mean, with Finn, it seemed that he would have had a little arc of Janna, but he didn't do. I don't know. Yeah. So, but it's failure on writing. Basically, it's pretty much failing screenwriting 101. So, yeah.
Yep. And you know, even Poe and Rey had a little bit of conflict at the beginning, we've always said that, you know, it would me and Lee have always said that, you know, one of the things we would have liked to have seen would be conflict between Poe and Rey because of the bond with Kylo, and even Finn, you know, being unsure about where his loyalty lied between the two. There's your conflict within the so-called trio. But no, it's all happy-go adventuring with no conflict, and the only conflict that you have is between Rey and Kylo, why it was the most praised aspect, along with the acting.
Along with the acting. Ben Solo, in I don't know how many minutes he had, he stole the show. He
stole the show with no dialogue, only facial expressions and body language. And then, you know, it's great. And you have that Ben Solo challenge, and people have been donating to the GoFundMe Adams campaign. It's been great. He's gonna, I think, you know, and we'll talk about this in another episode, because I think we do want to do a Ben Solo episode, but I just want to say it's been incredible. I have seen people, you know, online and in my personal life, people who hated Kylo Ren. My mum, for example, and a couple of my friends, they fully believed that he was irredeemable, and Rise of the Skywalker changed that, and they were devastated that Ben Solo died. They all thought he should have lived with Rey and tried to find redemption, but you know, it's just, and that's all due to Adam Driver's performance, and Daisy Ridley's too, but mostly Adam. Yes. Certainly not to do with the writing.
I think that's why they cut the lines. I bet they were super bad. I don't know. Yeah, okay,
but Adam Driver is one of those actors who can make bad lines work.
Yeah, that's true. Except you're a Palpatine. Oh, and there's some theories that maybe it's not him in some of these scenes, but I don't know. Anyways, it's a mess. It was chopped and cut and fixed. And that Palpatine last minute was weird. The ending changed, was weird, and then not even the cast liked it. So it's just unfortunate, and they were just doing this to make money, and they're not making as much money as they wanted, so at least
it's karma.
But they're making money. They're still gonna make a lot of money, so yeah.
Well, they're not gonna make as much money as Force Awakens or The Last Jedi, I don't think.
Oh no.
And personally, I think Merc sales are going to go down as well. I mean, apparently the Rise of Kylo Ren comic was the best-selling Marvel issue of the year, and it came out within the first couple of weeks of 2019. That says a lot about what people think about the film.
Yeah, it's what people think about Ben Solo. I know where they're gonna lose money in the next movie. Right, so everybody, because the super fans who are angry might still go and watch, okay? But the regular people who went there is like, oh, what the heck, and came home. I don't know. I think there was a trust that was broken. So I heard that maybe it's gonna be Taika Waititi, which is exciting, but at the same time, what story are they gonna tell? You know, I'm gonna think twice before being interested.
Me too, but I've heard rumours that it might be an Old Republic movie, which would be a good move because so many fans love the BioWare games. They love those characters and that timeline. So if they are going to do one, it would be a smart move to bring people back.
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be like the High Republic, maybe something different. Anyways, but yeah, if they did that, Taika Waititi would be a name that okay, maybe, you know, but I don't know. But I think that's where, I mean, they're gonna lose money, but at the end of the day, they still have so much money that they can. But they could have made a ton more if they had committed to this. Rey and Kylo to this story, you know, if they had marketed it from the beginning, get everybody behind it, it could have been epic, you know, get everybody behind. It could have been epic, and this ending would have been wow. It would have been a super, but it's not, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm refraining from being salty, but it's a mess.
It's a mess.
It should be called the mess of Skywalker.
Yeah.
The Rays of Skywalker.
Okay, so I think that's it for today, right?
Yep, I don't have anything else to say, so thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed talking about it. Please let us know your theories and thoughts in the comments, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud and iTunes. Until next time, and may the Force serve you well.